Hey folks, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at a few ways to represent data. In the beginning of the video I just wanted you guys to see all of the different types that you probably are familiar with. We have pie charts out there. Pie charts show us percentages, and with a pie chart you're able to see like a majority or a minority there. With bar graphs, you're able to simply see, like, if we were to talk about how many people maybe voted for a certain color to be their favorite, and you might be able to see here how many people voted for blue, how many people voted for red, yellow, and green. I feel like the information between these two types of graphs a lot of the time can be the same. Obviously, we can see here that this graph doesn't match this one because in this one, red is the most, and over here, red is actually the least. But the idea here is that they can show the same type of information. Bubble charts, a lot of times I've actually seen those in stock market stuff, and so we won't really worry too much about those right now. Line graphs, those should be very familiar with you guys from this school year in both history and science. Area graphs might not be something you know a whole lot about yet, kind of like with bubble charts. Those will be types of graphs that you explore as you get a little bit older. And last but not least, here on the list, we can see that we have a histogram. And for the purpose of today's video, we are going to be focusing here on the histogram. Now, one thing that I want to mention to you guys is that a histogram looks quite similar to a bar graph, but there are some differences. And to create a histogram, we need a frequency table. So now I'm with you guys in your packets here. And let's just formalize the definition here. A frequency table, which is this thing right here that you see with the tally marks, it lists each data item together with the number of times something is occurring. What I mean by that is down here, we can look at the test scores of Miss McGrath's class, and any student who scored between a 71 and a 75, she just tallied them here. So I want you to imagine that basically what Miss McGrath is doing is she's looking at her entire group of students and she's just flipping through scores. And as she sees certain scores in these ranges, she's just tallying along the way. And at the end, after she's done tallying the data, she just counts up the frequency. So she counts that there were 5 kids in class who got a 71 to a 75. She counted that there were 4 who got in this range, 8 who got in this range, and so on. And you can see right here, if you add all of these up, we can see the total number of students in Miss McGrath's class. To add these up real quick, let's just take, we've got 5. This would be 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. Then we've got 21. 21 plus 7 is going to be 28. And then 28 plus 9 more here, we can see how many kids total are in Miss McGrath's class. And that's going to be, got 28 plus 9. You tell me. Okay, cool. 37. So we have 37 kids, it looks like, in Miss McGrath's class. Now over here you can do the same thing. You can add these 5. This is the same information, now just over in a histogram. You can see these 5 kids are right here. 4 kids were in the next range. You've got here, this was 8 kids right there. Then plus these 5, and so on. You get the idea, plus these 7. And you can see here that if you add up the heights of all the bars, it's going to be the same total number of students, okay? So a frequency table is formed when you're actually collecting the data and tallying it, and then you take this information and formalize it over here into a histogram. Now the histogram is a lot like a bar graph, except the categories are numerical. Down here you can see that we've got numerical ranges, and these are in equal intervals. 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. You can see that we have the same numbers down here in each of these intervals. The height of each bar here shows the frequency, so how tall it is showed the frequency from the frequency table. And as you can see here, there are no spaces in between the bars because it goes straight from 75 to 76. So your grade is either over here in this column or over here in this column, and there's no spaces between the columns. When we look back at a bar graph here, you can see that there's spaces because these are qualitative data. This might be somebody's favorite color, blue, red, yellow, green. And this right here is like from 0 to 3. Then you'd have from like 3 to 6. Then you'd have from 7 to 10 and so on. So the histogram shows intervals with no spaces. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down here now. This shows quantitative data. Sorry, quantitative data, which is numerical. And up here, the bar graph shows qualitative data, so non-numerical stuff, okay? All right, sweet. Now that you got an understanding about how you can collect data and put it into intervals and then take that and move it into a histogram, let's just analyze these things with some following questions. All right, so to get a feel for what we're talking about here, let's just get an example of one of the intervals. So one of the intervals here, I just picked 86 to 90. That is what we call an interval. Over here, that's the interval of 86 to 90. Now in that particular interval that I've picked, we can see that the frequency is 4. And I mislabeled it over here. Let me erase this 5. This one has a height of 4. So that's my second answer here. That's where I'm getting the 4. So what does that mean? That means in this situation, 4 people scored between an 86 and a 90, meaning they got somewhere between a B and a B+, all right? Now the 90 is an A-, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. We're not talking about letter grades here. All right, now if we were to ask you guys, what is the lowest score on the math test? You can't tell me. You can tell me that the lowest score was somewhere between a 71 and a 75, but we have no way of knowing what these grades actually were. We don't see the grades listed out. So these 5 grades right here, these could have all been 75s. Who knows? We could have had a 71, a 72, a couple 73s. We have no way of knowing, so that's why for this one, we can't tell. And then same thing for the highest. You can't tell me the highest grade in the class. Even though this interval goes from 96 to 100, we have no way of knowing what these 9 people actually got. We don't actually see the data, so we can't tell. All right, so for the next one, how many students scored less than an 86%? So less than an 86 up here is going to be, in my purple box, these 3 things. These are all those scores that are less than 86. So you've got 5 plus 4, that's 9, plus 8 more, that's going to be these 17 people. All right? How many students scored more than a 90%? So more than a 90 would be these 2 green boxes, so 7 and 9. Now you can look at the histogram as well. More than a 90 is above this green line, so it's those 16 people right here. I'm going to erase a lot of this now just because I've got a lot of coloring going on up here. Let's fix this. All right, so we took care of the 16 people. We got that one. All right, now I'm on number 6. It asks us how many more students scored between a 71 and an 80. So 71 to 80 up here, 71 to 80 is those 9 students. 71 to 80 is right here. It's these 9 students total, okay? So we've got 9 kids in that range. And then we want to compare it to 81 to 85. So 81 to 85 is in this category of 8 people. And here's the 81 to 85, 8 people. So that's where I got this 8. So it asks how many more students are in this category than in this category. We have 1 more student over here than we did over here. All right, now I'm on number 7. So let me just go back and erase this stuff again. So for number 7, it asks us which interval contains 5 more scores than the 86 to 90. So first let's go find 86 to 90. So 86 to 90 is 4. Here it is over here as well. There's the 86 to 90 of 4. And it asks us which interval has 5 more than that. So here, plus 5 is 9. So now we're looking here. We have 9 kids who scored in here. So it's 96 to 100. The 96 to 100. All right. How many students scored between 81 and a 90? So 81 to 90 is up here. 81 to 90. All right, let me erase because I'm going to have to group together. All right. So 81 to 90. 81 to 90 is here. There's 81 to 90. And 81 to 90 is here. So we've got 8 and 4, 8 and 4, we've got 12. That's where I'm getting this 12. And last but not least, it asks us how many fewer students scored between, okay, so 71 to 80. So let's go up here and find the 71 to 80. All right, so 71 to 80 is here. That's where we're getting 9. And then 91 to 100, let's go up to 91 to 100. Here we go. Here's 91 to 100. So 91 to 100, we have 16 total. And 71 to 80, we had 9 total. So when it asks how many fewer there were in this category than in this category, there were 7 fewer students. All right, sweet. So now let's take a look here at page 2. Now you'll notice the difference here is that this actually has the data listed out, and we're going to take this data and actually sort it into something called a stem and leaf plot. Then we're going to take the data and put it into the frequency table. And last but not least, then we'll come down here and make a histogram. Okay? So on the first page of the notes, we didn't have the data. It already skipped ahead to the frequency table. So now here we are. And all we're doing is taking the ages of people who attended a town council meeting. They're listed below. And first, we're going to sort them into a stem and leaf plot. Now with a stem and leaf plot, the way it works is any age that's in the 30s is going to go here. Then we've got the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. So this person, for example, this 57, this is it written right there. There's my 57. The 36 in my table, this 36 is right here. There is the 36. 48, here's a 48, so I've got 48. Then I've got 52, so here's my 52. And I'm going to save time. You can see, though, I went all the way through and just took all of these numbers and sorted them down here. Now, obviously, as you can see the way this is working, it might have made more sense to start with a frequency table right here. Notice that if you can just break the data up into say, okay, so now these are the 30s, 30 and then 40. We've got 41 to 50. 51 to 60, 61 to 70, and 71 to 80. So if this is how we're going to break it down, let's just go through and actually tally them. So for example, the 57 gets a tally here. 36 gets a tally here. 48 gets a tally here. 52 gets a tally here. So you're just going to go through all of the data and tally it up. Now, because I have a video here, chances are you're probably just copying down the numbers and copying this stuff down. But if you wanted to pause the video and actually just get some practice in and take all of these and tally them up here, I think that's good to make sure that if you were on your own, you wouldn't make any mistakes. You can see up above, though, that if we break it down into the categories, we've got 4 people who were 31 to 40. We've got 3 people in this group, and so on. All right? So you've got the data represented here in a couple of different ways. Now let's take a look at the histogram. Now what the histogram is going to do is it's going to take the data from the frequency table. So we want these intervals, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, and so on. So down here, count every 3 boxes and draw a little line. 3 more boxes, 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 draw your little line. What that did is it took these 15 lines and broke it up into these 5 categories. So now you've got 31 to 40, 41 to 50. I've just got these intervals from right here. And what we did was we took this data and sorted it into the frequency table. Now we have the height of each bar. So in the first category, we're going to draw a line here at 4. And then you can just shade in this section, everything underneath the 4. You can see on my notes that I've just drawn in some lines. You can actually shade it in all the way if you want to. You can use a highlighter for this part if you want. It doesn't matter to me. Then for the next one, the height is at a 3. So you've got your line at a 3, boom. And so there's the height of this bar is 3. The height of this one was a 4. The height of the next one was a 6. The height of the next one is a 4. And the height of the last one was a 3. Now, even though we're using these intervals Careful with the stem and leaf plot. I could say in the stem and leaf plot, how many people in the stem and leaf plot were 31 to 40? So you've got 31, 32, 36, 38, and we don't have anybody who's 40, so we would say 4 people. We're good to go there. Now, careful though, if I say how many people are in their 60s, we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But because this table of values has a 70 here, you'll notice that this one piece of the data is right here. So depending on how it's grouped, if it's a stem and leaf plot, it might be all just in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, or you could have your intervals set a little bit differently for a frequency table. What you're going to do now is you're going to try page 3 on your own, where you're going to use this histogram or this frequency table to answer the questions on your own, and there will be a Google form when you're done. Thank you.